In the first part, we primarily explored the background that shaped modern Southeast Asia. The second part delves into the relationships between nations that stem from this background. Specifically, it's about who dislikes whom and why, revealing the circumstances of each country. Understanding this can unveil the seemingly complex and hidden realities of Southeast Asia. As mentioned towards the end of the first part, the most disliked country in Southeast Asia is Thailand. Why is this? It's because Thailand represents a traditional powerhouse in the region. To reiterate, Southeast Asia is historically divided into the continental countries of Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and the maritime countries of Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, East Timor, Brunei, and the Philippines. Conflicts are natural when countries in close geographical proximity clash over interests. However, Southeast Asia's ability to have its own league, so to speak, is thanks to its geography. Myanmar, Laos, and Vietnam share borders with China, but they are separated by the vast plateau formed by the tail end of the Himalayas and the Hengduan mountain range. To descend into Southeast Asia, China would have to traverse the narrow plains of northern Vietnam. For thousands of years, Vietnam has borne the brunt of this, acting as a barrier. If Vietnam had not served as an effective buffer, Southeast Asia might have struggled to withstand the dominant influence of China. Returning to our original topic, Myanmar is likely the country that dislikes Thailand the most. Before the arrival of the Thai people in the 13th century, this land was alternately dominated by Myanmar and Cambodia. However, with the rise of Thailand's Ayutthaya kingdom in the 14th century, which was strong enough to bring about the fall of Cambodia's Khmer Empire, Thailand and Myanmar have been archenemies ever since. Generally, Thailand had the upper hand, but it was Myanmar that brought about the destruction of Ayutthaya and forced the relocation of the capital to Bangkok for defensive purposes. Such was the extent of their rivalry. However, the current reality of this bitter relationship is markedly different. Thailand has succeeded economically and remains the strongest power in the region. Myanmar, which was doing relatively well in the 1960s with its Burmese-style socialism, has collapsed due to prolonged military dictatorship. Now, the economic disparity between the two countries is so vast that their GDP differs by a factor of 2. Consequently, many Burmese people are in a dire situation, having to do menial jobs in Thailand. The number of these workers exceeds 1 million, and the count of undocumented residents is impossible to gauge. Despite the significant economic disparity, Thailand has not lowered its guard against Myanmar. The traumatic experiences of sacred Buddha statues being decapitated and cities reduced to ruins have deeply ingrained fear and hostility towards Myanmar in the Thai people. Consequently, Thailand actively supports anti-government forces and ethnic minorities in Myanmar, contributing to ongoing divisions. Thailand is proactive in providing refuge and accepting refugees when it serves their interests. However, they may choose to turn a blind eye when it is disadvantageous to them. The majority Burmese population in Myanmar, feeling humiliated and toyed with in this situation, are extremely frustrated but feel powerless to change it. They are acutely aware that they cannot seek revenge as they did in the past, due to the vast disparity in national power. The military in Myanmar is also adeptly exploiting the ethnic minority issue to extend their hold on power, suggesting that their protests against Thailand have a somewhat ceremonial aspect. Cambodia, much like Myanmar, harbors strong animosity towards Thailand. In fact, Cambodia suffered the most when the Thai people migrated from China. At that time, this region was under the Khmer Empire of Cambodia. However, it was toppled by Thailand's Ayutthaya. Since then, Cambodia has been unable to escape being the punching bag of Thailand and Vietnam. Thailand's disdain for Cambodia is such that it frequently stirs up disputes over the ownership of Angkor, Cambodia's treasured historical site. It seems that Thailand became envious as the Angkor site, once under Thai rule, turned into a world-renowned tourist destination generating substantial revenue. Despite the International Court of Justice ruling that certain border temples belong to Cambodia, Thailand continues to engage in conflicts over these sites. Every time this happens, Cambodia reacts sharply. But what can Cambodia do when even Myanmar, with half its economic strength, is powerless? Cambodia's economy is only 1/17 of that size. Cambodia, too, relies heavily on Thailand economically, with many of its citizens working menial jobs in Thailand to make a living. Politically, however, Cambodia is clearly under Vietnam's influence. In the 12th century, Cambodia's Khmer Empire was conquered by Vietnam's Champa Kingdom, and 200 years ago, it lost the fertile Mekong Delta region to Vietnam. This area is where Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon, is located. The 38-year rule of Prime Minister Hun Sen, one of the world's longest-serving dictators, has been possible due to Vietnam's support. Therefore, when Cambodians are forced to choose between Thailand and Vietnam, they begrudgingly consider Thailand the lesser of two evils, despite it being a difficult choice. Laos, the only landlocked country in Southeast Asia, has a complex relationship with Thailand, characterized by both affinity and aversion. They share ethnic and linguistic roots, with over 70% mutual language comprehension. Consequently, when Laos became communist in 1975, about 1/10 of its population abruptly migrated to Thailand. Laotian youth often prefer Thai television, considered a symbol of advanced culture, over their own, indicating significant cultural dependence. Laos, being poorer than Cambodia, is often viewed by Thais as underprivileged neighbors. However, Thailand is far from being a kind neighbor. In the 18th century, Thailand plundered the deeply revered Emerald Buddha statue from Laos, cherishing it as their premier national treasure. Requests from Laos for its return have been consistently ignored by Thailand. In Laos, a significant part of the economy is dependent on working in Thailand, vending Thai goods, and exporting agricultural products to Thailand. Consequently, the Thai baht is widely accepted for most transactions in the country. In fact, Myanmar and Cambodia are not much different in this aspect, leading to the term baht economic zone in these countries. The role of the Thai baht as a de facto regional currency highlights Thailand's stature in Southeast Asia. Despite a cultural complex towards Thailand, Laotians find themselves in a position where they cannot do much about the perceived superiority of Thais. In contrast, Laos has a very close relationship with Vietnam, likely the closest in Southeast Asia. These nations united against the United States during the Vietnam War and share a bond through their common communist ideology. Laos is heavily influenced by Vietnam politically. With Vietnam's economy rapidly growing, it has been assisting Laos in developing national infrastructure. Laos, in turn, is looking to Vietnam as a model for its economic development. Vietnam's geopolitical destiny has always been surviving against China. It engaged in conflicts with southward expanding China, which delayed its full-scale confrontations with other Southeast Asian countries. However, in the 17th and 18th centuries, Thailand's eastward expansion policy clashed with Vietnam's southwestward expansion, primarily in Cambodia and Laos. This antagonism began during the Vietnam War when Thailand sided with the United States, turning Vietnam and Thailand into adversaries. However, just a decade ago, Vietnam was hardly a concern for Thailand, engulfed in independence wars against France, the United States, and China until the end of the 20th century. Vietnam's economy was significantly weaker than Thailand's. To many Vietnamese, Thailand represented a land of opportunity, and numerous Vietnamese workers engaged in manual labor there, often facing contempt from the Thai people. Yet as Thailand struggled with the middle-income trap, Vietnam experienced annual growth rates of 5 to 7% over the past decade. While there's still a gap in per capita GDP, Vietnam has caught up to about 80% of Thailand's national GDP. Consequently, Thailand now feels threatened by Vietnam's rise. Adding to this anxiety, IMF forecasts suggest that Vietnam might surpass Thailand economically within 5 years, potentially toppling Thailand's position as the dominant power in mainland Southeast Asia. In contrast, Vietnam, having endured past grievances, is now filled with soaring confidence and a determination to outperform Thailand in all aspects. This context explains the recent intense rivalry between Vietnam and Thailand, particularly in football. Despite being envied and begrudged by all its neighbors, Thailand is currently facing a multitude of challenges. The economy has not recovered as expected following the COVID-19 pandemic, and Thailand is grappling with some of its most pressing issues: the widening wealth gap between individuals and the economic disparity between urban and rural areas. Additionally, as a newly middle-income country, Thailand is experiencing a rapid decline in birth rates, which is plummeting its potential growth rate. Amidst these difficulties, the influx of illegal migrant workers and refugees from economically struggling neighboring countries, entering through the virtually uncontrollable forested borders, is causing significant distress in Thailand. The Southeast Asia orientation was originally intended to conclude in two parts. However, there is still so much to discuss that even after considerable editing, the content remains extensive. Therefore, the final part, Part 3, will focus on completing the discussion about the relationships between the maritime nations of Southeast Asia.